Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, friends. This is It's So Tiny, miniature painting with Daddy Louie. This is a special episode that I think will be exclusive to YouTube. Um, I was painting some miniatures from a previous stream that I had not finished on stream, and I thought, maybe I will show how I'm doing this specific process that I'm doing right now so that you can improve your miniature painting. I'm not a professional painter. I consider myself to be kind of on the borderline of intermediate and maybe advanced, but definitely nowhere near expert. And what I've done is, in the previous stream, like I said, I painted these miniatures to kind of a tabletop standard. And now I want to show you how I go from that tabletop standard beginner to a little more advanced with very easy techniques. I'm not great at wet blending. I'm not good at fanning or stippling or anything like that. These are very basic techniques that you yourself can do, and that's what I'm going to show you today. So I'm going to switch down to my tabletop view. So this is Donatello from TMNT Adventures, and this is the miniature that I just finished. So this has kind of taken a tabletop standard and advanced it. So specifically what I want to show you guys is the shell, how I've kind of done the shell, and now let's look at one of the other ones so you can kind of see what I've done to the shell here. So this one I've not finished, and this one I have. So the miniature we're actually going to work on is Leonardo. I may do more than one on this particular episode. It just depends on how long it takes me. But I'm basically going to do one miniature at a time. So Donatello's finished, and now we're going to work on Leonardo. So the first thing that we're going to do is the skin. So the base coat of the skin that I used is this Elysian green. And then I put a camo green wash over top of it. So I'm going to go back to that Elysian green, and I'm going to start by just taking it, making sure that it's pretty wet. It doesn't have to be like super wet. And I'm going to just start highlighting, okay? So these are going to be very basic highlights. I'm basically covering most of the miniature that got kind of covered up with that wash. Because if you're not familiar with washes, it's going to darken down what you've worked on, which is not what we want, right? So again, just using that base color, which for Leo was Elysian green. And we're just adding some very easy, very basic highlights. So I am curious for everybody that's watching the video, go ahead and leave a comment who your favorite turtle is. I think that's a fun question to ask everybody, right? So everybody has a favorite turtle, and I would like to know what yours is. Mine has changed over time as I've gotten older. When I was younger, Leonardo was always my favorite because, he was the leader, and the shows kind of always made an emphasis about, him as a character. So he was always kind of the main character, and as such, he was my favorite, mostly just because he was the main character. Plus, when I was younger, I really liked the color blue, and Leonardo is, of course, blue. In my older age, I have more of an appreciation for Raphael, so I would say that now, currently, my favorite character is Raphael. I feel like Raphael is kind of the go-to favorite for a lot of adults, because, as we get older, we get grumpier. And let's face it, Raphael is a grumpy, grumpy turtle. So where light is not necessarily hitting the miniature, Like the light wouldn't necessarily be hitting the back of his legs. It wouldn't be hitting really the front of his legs because of the stance that he's on. I'm not going to reapply this color there. I obviously want it to look uniform. So certain spots I am going to hit with a highlight. But again, I'm not, right now all I'm doing is putting the base color over top of the spots that got dulled down with the wash. Again, this is just a very easy technique that you can do once you've put a wash on and you've kind of completed that, tabletop standard. Which, if you're happy with that, by all means, this is just extra that you can do to kind of take your miniature up to the next level. So what I've decided to do with these particular turtles is base them off of the toys from the 80s, which I happen to have. So what's cool about them is each of the turtles have a different shade of skin. That was not true in the comics, or not true in the TV show. In the TV show, they were all the same color as far as their skin goes. So I wanted to do something a little different from the cartoon. So there you have it. We've completed that step of the miniature, and now we're going to kick it up a notch. So basically using the color wheel, right? So we have that Elysian green, which is our base coat. I'm then going to take the brighter color of the wheel, and I'm going to add it in. So that's going to be this Xandri dust. Yellow is the next color in the color wheel from green. So I want to use a yellow color. However, I don't want it to be necessarily a bright yellow, because Elysian green is not a bright green. So I'm combining some of that Elysian green with this Zemesi desert, and that's going to be my next highlight. Again, I'm looking for these are more extreme highlights, so things that will really be catching light now. The top of the feet here, the top of this particular toe, the top of the legs, and again, this is very basic highlighting. When we get to the shell, I will be doing something a little more advanced, so make sure that you stick around to see that, because that is not going to be just that's going to be a little more advanced, again, because we're trying to increase our skills here. With Donatello, I didn't do very much skin highlighting because of all the toys. His toy was the darkest, which I'll show you in a moment. So his toy had the darkest skin, and so I kind of wanted to mirror that a little bit. So I highlighted him way less than I'm going to highlight each of the other turtles, especially Raphael, because Raphael, his toy had has the brightest skin color. Another question I have for those that are watching this video, again, leave in the comments of the video the answer to this question. Who is your favorite Ninja Turtle villain? Because very similarly to everybody having a favorite turtle, I'm sure that everybody has a favorite villain as well. For me, it is the Rat King. Again, something else that I want to mention really quick as I go through the process of doing this is if you missed the stream where I painted these turtles, then please make sure that you go and check that out. It is here on YouTube. Just look at the Circle of Nerds, our YouTube page here, and make sure that you check that out. So now I'm going to add one more little drop of that color in there, that desert color, and this highlight here is going to be very, very light. So again, we're not really doing any blending. Blending kind of requires it to be a little more wet, and that's just not something that I'm exploring right now. Right now what I'm doing is just combining what I've done with some brighter colors. One thing that you can do if you do want to try blending a little bit is doing a glaze. Again, that's not something I'm really exploring. There's lots of YouTube videos out there on how to glaze. That is a skill that I am working on behind the scenes so that I can bring it to the channel, but not quite ready for that yet. So there you go. There's kind of the skin. We're going to move on to, let's highlight the blue real quick on the miniature. To do that, I'm going to take the blue that I used on the initial part, which is this Techless blue, and I'm going to add a little bit of white to it. A very small amount, because I do not want to make it like a sky blue or anything like that, which is kind of what happens when you add white to this blue. And I'm only going to use this one highlight color. I'm not going to do any more than that. And I'm just going to, on the extreme highlights here, across the knee pads, across the elbow pads, and a little bit on the mask. You can also add some pure white to the edges of the mask when you get to that part. I wouldn't do it on the pads personally, but you could if you wanted to. And now I will add just a drop of pure white. And I'm only going to put it like in like 1 or 2 spots. The tip here of the bandana. A little drop here on the mask. And I said I wasn't going to do it on, but this particular pad is really exposed to the light, as is this one. Anybody out there that thinks, you know, oh man, I can't do that, this is really difficult, I promise you, you can. I don't know if you can notice, but I'm shaking really, really bad. So yeah, you can do this, I promise. Alright, let me move this toy off to the side and this green. So these turtles, I'm hoping that the skin tones are different enough. I hope that Donatello looks darker than Leo. I don't want to mess too much more with it. Alright, so now we're going to start working on the shell. Like I said, this is going to be a little bit more of an advanced technique. And essentially what's neat about these shells is that they have these sections, right? So you can see these sections off. And we're going to build up layers on that. So the first thing that we're going to do is take our initial color, which is dryad bark, and we're going to fill that color in there. And it's as easy as that. Then we are going to take our next color in the line, which is Gorthor Brown, and we're going to mix it 1 for 1 with the dryad bark. And then we are going to, from the top, work our way down and stop just short of the bottom so that some of that dryad bark still stays there. This is very basic layering, what I'm doing right now. There's no wet blending involved in what I'm doing right now. Obviously, some of the paint will be a little wet because the surface area here is not, there's not a lot of it. But again, that's not really my goal. Alright, now we're going to take pure, what did I call it? Pure Gorthor Brown. And we are going to do the same thing, but again, stopping just shy of what we had just done. I'm staying away from the recesses. And the top, the top of the model, you want to get closer to the edge than you do the other parts of the model. Because again, the light is beaming down. So these top parts, I'm going to go a little further down than, say, this bottom part right here. Alright, so now that we've gone with that pure Gorthor Brown, if I'm saying them wrong and it sounds funny, I apologize. And now we're going to take the next color, which is this Baneblade Brown. And I'm going to combine, again, the last color, which is Gorthor, with the Baneblade Brown. And again, 1 for 1, same thing. We're starting at the top, working our way down, and we're going to stop just shy of our last step. So for those that have not played this game, it's very fun. If you are not familiar with it, it is a game by IDW Games. It was a big Kickstarter a while back. So now we're going to switch over to the pure Baneblade Brown. And this is more of an extreme color. And that's it. That's how we do. That's how we do that layering. Very, very simple. So now I take that same color and I'm going to kind of stipple it around the edge, kind of make the edge of the shell pop a little bit. This is kind of an unnecessary step, but I personally like how it looks. It's kind of an edge highlight, kind of not. And now, one more thing that you can do, which I do, is get your brush clean, get a little bit of water on there, and just put the water on there. I think it helps kind of blend it together. I may be wrong. It may not. It may just be in my head. But I personally think it works well. And when that dries, that's going to look really cool. While I have you, I am going to highlight these things really fast. So I used Ushabti Bone on these bits here. And I used, what is this? Steel Drab. For these bits here. So I'm just going to add some quick highlights. Nothing fancy here, just adding some highlights. I also did the same I used the same color on the on these little pouches and the belt. So I'm just going to highlight those back up. Come around here to the front, same thing with these pouches. I'm not really going to mess with the belts because the belts are in kind of good shape. And the last little highlighting that we need to do is the chest. And very similar layering technique like we did, dropped him, like we did there on the chest. So I'm going to take the initial color, which is Averland Sunset. I probably need to wet that a little more. Again, you want your wets, you want your paints to be a little wet. They don't have to be sopping. And I'm just going to put that over the entire miniature, or over the entire area, to highlight it back up, except for the recesses. Otherwise, that kind of defeats the purpose of the wash that we put on there to get into the recesses. You want this all over, even on the bottom parts. There's a little tiny spot here. Okay. And now we're going to take the next color, which is Uriel Yellow. We're going to combine Uriel Yellow and Averland Sunset together. And we're going to do the same thing that we did with the shell. We're going to start from the top and work our way down, stopping kind of close to the bottom on top. And as we work ourselves down, that will be less and less down, right? Because we want our shadows to still exist towards the bottom. Surprisingly, not surprisingly, Leonardo and Donatello are the two easiest to do because they have these pouches and stuff across their chest and on their back. So there's less surface area on this chest part and on the thing. I don't know. All right, now we grab pure Uriel Yellow. Same technique here. All right, next step up is Flash Gets Yellow. So we're going to take Uriel Yellow and Flash Gets Yellow and combine them together. And then finally, last step, we're going to take pure Flash Gets Yellow for that just extreme highlight. Not even going to put it on the bottom. And now, same that I did on the back, I'm going to take my paintbrush, get it a little wet, and I'm going to put it all over just water, basically. And this, in my opinion, helps kind of blend it together a little bit. It might not be a necessary step, but this is just what I do. And that's it. Leonardo is done. So you can kind of see that very easy blending there on the chest. And again, on the back. It's not even blending. I shouldn't call it that. I apologize. It's just a very simple layering. And hopefully our colors are close. Look at that, they are. Man, Donatello. He was hard to keep like that brown color you can see there. I guess it's kind of close, maybe. Hi, buddy. Okay, maybe we'll do one more here in this video. I would say, what do you guys think? But that's a rhetorical question because you can't answer. Yeah, let's do one more. Let's do Raphael. So here is Raphael. He is the brightest of the turtles as far as color goes. So I use Moot Green from Citadel for his skin. So I just want to get some of that on my palette. And his combination highlight color is going to be that Flash Gets Yellow, which is the brightest. I don't want this video to be super duper long, but showing you two different colors, or two different shades of one color, I guess, because it's all the same. It's all green, right? So same technique that I'm doing. This is not really layering. They call this like edge highlighting or just regular highlighting. I'm looking for where there is the most light, or where light would hit, and I'm just brightening it with my base color, which again is Moot Green. As a kid, I had all of the toys. I still have some, as I've showed you. I have all 4 turtles here on my desk, and I used them as reference because I wanted to make these turtles look as close to the toys as possible. So that's kind of what I'm doing. Also, you'll notice that these bases are from Marvel Crisis Protocol. I did rebase the miniatures because the miniatures came on plain bases, and I think that the Marvel Crisis Protocol bases are really good for turtles. They're very urban, gives you that New York city feel for the turtles, which I think is quite nice. So I did rebase them, and I am also going to make a tutorial on how to base these miniatures, how to finish the bases. So we're going to give all of these turtles a New York City feel to them. So, and what I mean by that is I'm going to show you how to add trash and stuff onto the miniature so that it looks like this New York City is lived in. So I'm going to do like some old newspapers. If you'll notice, there's like a Solo cup there, some fallen bricks, and we're gonna do that on another video. So make sure that you are a subscriber, so you'll be notified when that video comes out. I'm gonna record these back to back, so it'll seem like a long time to you, but for me, it'll be an instant. So just finding those places where sun is going to hit the most, obviously on top of the head. Although the turtles don't really come out in the sun, right? So I guess you could keep them dark and avoid this altogether if you wanted to. But I think it really adds character to the miniature. Okay. That's it for that first little layer there. So now, like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to take... Let's just bring Raphael here. Like I said, I have them all next to me. So I'm going to take this Flash Gets Yellow, combine it 1-for-1 with that Moot Green to make the Moot Green higher in the higher pigment, I guess. Is that right? Is the pigment... Wow, I should know this, guys. I apologize that I'm not the greatest when it comes to knowledge of... Is pigment like what's... I don't know. Man, I feel like I should know this. The higher the pigment, the brighter the color, right? I'm pretty sure that that's correct. So, yeah. So adding that yellow in there adds more pigment, which brightens up the miniature. So I'm looking for spots, again, that are going to hit the light the most. I'm not going to get the whole mini. And I'm going to avoid covering up what I did in that last step. So this really is a 1-for-1. And like you see there, I'm just doing the bridge of the nose. I'm doing spots here, spots there. I'm mostly just looking for spots, except for on the top of the head. I'm going to do that a little more intense because light would be hitting that the most. Top of the toes here. Top of the legs. Again, I'm not going to do like the underside because light would not be hitting there. Knuckles. Back of the knuckles. Back of the arm here. And then we're going to, for one more highlight, combine just a little bit more of that Flash Gets so that it's a little brighter. And we're just going to hit a few spots. Like top of the feet here. Top of the arm here. Top of the hand. Maybe a little bit of the cheek. highlight the cheek before. Very top of the head here. When doing the top of the head, you can do what I do on the chest and the back, you know, with the water. I did it on Donatello and it worked pretty well. The only thing I don't really like here in this particular instance is that cheek. And so I'm going to fix the cheek by going back a color. And I also don't really like this, the top of this here, so I'm going to kind of blend it together a little bit. Okay. Other than that, I'm pretty happy with the way the colors came out. Okay, so now that I'm done with that step, I am going to highlight the red. My red of choice here was Evil Sun Scarlet. All of these are from Citadel, by the way, that I'm explaining. So I'm just initial thought here, or the initial step here, is just to go over with the initial color. Now, when it comes to highlighting with red, you have to be careful. Like blue, it was fine to use. It was fine to use white to highlight, but with red, if you add white to red, it makes it pink. So what you want to add is orange. So I'm going to use some of Mikey's orange, which is Troll Slayer orange, and combine that with some of that. You could also use yellow as well. So I'm going to combine some of that Mikey orange to do some of this highlighting. And then I will grab a little bit of white just to do some spot highlighting, like I did on Leo. When using white, I tend to not use actual white. I use Althuan Gray because it's a bit easier to work with. Not super happy with how the red, or how the white looks on the red. So I'm just gonna grab some of that Troll Slayer orange Evil Sun Scarlet combo here, and I'm gonna go over those white spots because I don't like them. And in this part, if you keep your paint thin and you did paint it white and you don't like it, when you put the paint over it, it'll still create a highlight for you. So the white was not a total waste. All right. Pretty happy with his reds. Not super happy with his belt. So I'm gonna grab some of that dryad bark. No, because that was not what I used for the belt. You know what? I'll get to that when I get to the belt step. Let's go ahead and move on to the shell again. Same technique, just showing it again, right? So I got that dryad bark, step one. We're going to put that back on to the spots here. I'm going to call them spots, okay? The shell sections are going to be referred to as spots. So when I say spot, that's what I'm talking about. All right, so I got dryad bark in all of the spots. Now I'm going to take my combination of Gorthor brown and dryad bark. Same thing. Working our way down. All right. Now I'm going to take pure dryad bark, or I'm sorry, Gorthor brown. I apologize. These names get really confusing. I'm just going to call it dark brown, medium brown, and light brown. My hands are starting to hurt. I have carpal tunnel, so again, if I can paint, you can paint. Between my shakiness, because of my medications, and my carpal tunnel, if I can do it, you can do it. All right. That was pure Gorthor brown, right? You can't answer. So now I'm going to go with half and half Gorthor and Baneblade. So medium and light. And again, we're just layering. You're going halfway down from where you did the step before. On the tops, you're wanting to be more generous with on the bottoms. So down here, I'm not going as deep because there's going to be more shadows down there than there are up here. And then last step, pure Baneblade brown, light brown. If you wanted to get even more extreme with this, you could, for a even final last step, you could do white into that light brown. which maybe for RAF we will. So a little bit of white in with that light brown. And I'm just adding like a dot. In certain spots where I think light might hit. All right, and then for the final part, I'm gonna grab some water on my brush, and I'm just going to put it all over to try and blend those things together. Actually should have done the edge highlighting on the edge of the shell first. Darn. Gosh darn it. I'm noticing a few spots where it didn't really blend, so I'm adding a little bit of water in certain spots because I don't really like how it looked. Okay. All right. So you see the effect here, how down here it's not as bright and then it works its way up. When you look at it real close, it doesn't look that great. But when you look at it pretty far away, it's like, man, that's awesome. Cool. So now I'm going to take my Baneblade Brown, which was my brightest of the colors, and I'm just going to kind of go around the shell here for an edge highlight, just using the side of my brush. Around the shell here. You don't have to go heavy with this. I've done it different on each turtle, so it'll look slightly different. Because not all turtle shells are the same. Right? And that's our shell. And last but not least, actually second to last, we're going to go back to our Steel Legion drab for our highlight on the belt. Pretty simple here. I'm just looking for extreme highlights, I guess. Not messing too much with the belts, just doing like the pouches and the weapon holsters. Because I want all these, the problem is all these browns, right? They kind of start to blend together, and I want them to look a little different. If you notice on the toys, their belts are black, but I didn't want to use black. Now I'm going to do the chest. So grabbing my base coat here, which is the Averland Sunset, I'm going to do that all over the chest, avoiding the recesses. I need to be careful around this arm that kind of crosses the chest. It's going to create a shadow, which will make that part easier. I just have to make sure that, you know, I don't get it. I don't nick it with the yellow. If I do, it's okay. We can fix it, but obviously it's not ideal. This will also create a shadow down here. So I'm going to go pretty light on the highlighting here because I don't want to, I want it to look natural. All right, that's first color in. Now I'm going to take a combination of Averland Sunset and Uriel Yellow. I'm going to go pretty far down, but not all the way. Focusing kind of on the outside here. Leaving some of that on the inside. All right, now I'm going to, next color is pure Uriel Yellow. So I'm going to grab that pure Uriel Yellow. Actually, I may have grabbed the wrong yellow. Looks like I did. So I'm quickly, before it dries completely, going to wet my brush and, oops, too much water. Soak up some of the water there. Okay. So I need to make a... I need to put some more Uriel Yellow on my palette because apparently I accidentally combined my Uriel Yellow with my flash gits on the part where my Uriel Yellow was. Uriel Yellow is a weird name to say, so... So now this is pure Uriel Yellow here. Alright, now I'm going to Uriel Yellow and Flash Gets together. I'm definitely going to have to fix that top part right there. And then finally, just plain Flash Gets. Alright, so I am going to fix that that chest part. When I say chest part, it's all a chest part. I'm going to fix this part up here because it's a little too bright. I'm going to wet my brush. And it kind of blends it all together. All right. And that's it. I'm going to stop it there. This video has been an hour now.
It's so tiny.
Oh, wrong button. Hopefully this has been helpful for you. Hopefully you learned something, because that's my goal here. And make sure that you go and follow all of my socials. It's So Tiny at Facebook and TikTok, at The Real Daddy Louie on Instagram. Of course, you're already here on Circle of Nerds YouTube, youtube.com/Circle of Nerds. And hopefully you subscribe so that you know when I'm going to be posting another video. And finally, last but not least, make sure you check me out on Twitch every Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/Circle of Nerds for It's So Tiny. I appreciate you. Make sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, play your games, paint your miniatures, and let's roll that outro.
It's so tiny.